guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks for our very special episode of Thanksgiving 2019. We are so excited to be here with you. Now, this is not going to be a long show, but I do have some clips to bring you that really inspired me this holiday season, celebrating Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims. If anybody knows me or my family, knows that we are obsessed with the Pilgrims, and it's all Kirk Cameron's fault.
Well, it's Maddie's fault for telling us.
It's all Kansas's fault for telling us about.
Are you here, Kansas?
Monumental, the movie, and then us watching it, and then let me pull up the chat just in case we're like muted and somebody. And here, come say hi. Wait, let's make sure that there he is.
Say hi.
Hello.
Hey, can you tell them a little bit about Leo and Nancy, because we're going to see him tonight.
Come close to me.
Move your chair over.
I'm not going to move my chair over.
Well, they give walking tours of Plymouth, and they give the Christian history of the Pilgrims and how they came here, and you know what they're. I feel kind of odd here.
Here, I'll scoot over.
But
okay.
yeah,
there we go.
Basically, they run through the history that we're not taught today about. You know, their Christian background and how that was the foundation of their whole lives. And,
right.
You know, just, I mean, it's kind of average Christianity, which I guess isn't today, but, you know, it's like you just seek God and you just follow Him every day. And, you know, like before you plant your crops, you pray about it. And then if the crops aren't coming up or you're not getting rain, then you know, pray about it.
And that happened to the Pilgrims. They were working with the Native American, what do we call them, Native Americans now?
Their whole lives.
You know, David Barton still calls them Indians.
Does he really?
Yes, he does.
I don't know. I don't want to be politically incorrect.
I know.
But that happened. Remember that story that was both, they were going to starve, I guess, the Native Americans and the Pilgrims. They planted their crop and they didn't have enough rain, and then
Would you stop it?
The Pilgrims fasted and they prayed, and then for 2 weeks they got a little drizzle, and the Native Americans, they started to believe in God after that. A lot of them became Christians. Squanto, was it Squanto that became a Christian?
First, it started out with, I think, Samoset was there first. David Barton, we're going to show clips, and David Barton's going to go through the whole history there for us. So, without further ado, we haven't even eaten our Thanksgiving dinner yet, so we're going to try and make this as short as possible because we have the yummiest dinner. Do you want to show them that first?
Yeah, you know what?
Okay, thank you, Kansas.
Well, Kansas is so kind to me. You know what he says when I mess things up? It's no big deal.
It's because it's no big deal, Leah.
So this is my rolls. Stick your head in here, Matt. This is my rolls. This was the bottom, and they're starting to burn. They weren't done. So then I just flipped them over. So now they're perfect for grilled cheese.
But hang on a minute and tell them why this is actually more tragic than it would be with other rolls.
These are the best Betty Crocker's.
If you've ever had a Betty Crocker cookbook and you've never made the potato refrigerator dough rolls, you ain't living. Like, they are literally... Okay, Leah said she was going to show you her flubs.
I'm showing you this. Now, Kansas, you want to try one on air? See if they worked out
They
okay?
actually look way more burnt on air than they are in real life.
I'm going to see what happened to these ones.
They look more burnt.
Yeah, it's really good.
They're not that burnt looking.
These weren't burnt, but I went to move them in the oven, and they fell.
That's why there's dog hair on it.
They fell out everywhere.
So good.
So I had to flip them back in.
So good.
I had to flip them back in. It was so sad. But this particular...
It still tastes the same. It tastes good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I mean, presentation's overrated, you know. We basically chew it into a pulp when it, you know, goes through our digestive systems and
I don't think they got a chance to watch
nourishes our body and all that.
Give that visual of the esophagus maceration thing happening. Okay, show them your non-flub.
But then I have a turkey here. See my turkey?
Gobble,
Gobble. Here's a tip. You want to keep your rolls warm, put a towel on the bottom, put your rolls in, and then flip them. So in this particular Betty Crocker recipe, thank you, Kansas.
Thank you, Kansas.
You would try like
Happy Thanksgiving.
He says happy Thanksgiving. These ones turned out, but that was the flub. These ones turned out well.
They're beautiful. Yeah, there you go. See, that's beautiful. Now, yours are made with whole wheat.
Ooh.
That's impressive. Whole wheat. It's still, the lighting is so terrible. I'm so sorry. Wait, there you go. They're delicious.
So this is the croissant ones turned out well. So I'm excited about that. But you know what? I just want to encourage you, if you start cooking something and something messes up, don't cry. Don't be upset.
May tries to tell me not to talk my food in my mouth. What are you, my sister? My mother?
So,
they both tell me that.
A lady was at the grocery store, and she didn't see enough turkeys, and she didn't see a turkey big enough for her family, and she asked the grocery store clerk, "Oh, there aren't any enough big. There's none here big enough for my family. Do you have any that are bigger? Get any bigger? Do you have any that get any bigger?" And see, that's a horrible way to deliver a joke. And he said, "No, ma'am, they're dead. They don't get any bigger." It was supposed to. I could never be a stand-up comic. That was a good joke. Because when you don't deliver the line right, if you have any that are bigger, it's not funny. But if you say, "Do you have any that get bigger?" Do they get any bigger? No, ma'am, they're dead. Ba-boom, ching.
Do you want to tell them why you told that joke?
I wanted to come up with a joke. I wanted to
She Googled the joke.
I Googled jokes. Okay, so we're going to take you to Plymouth.
That's not even a good shot. Actually, that's not half bad. That's Faith. All right, now, I'm going to play several clips for you guys. So this show is not going to be so much Leah and I talking as it is letting like David Barton and Glenn Beck and Leo Martin and Pastor Paul Jaley.
You can get one of these of the monument.
Yes, I think you have to order it by the 13th.
And you should.
And I'll have the links to everything, probably not until tomorrow, in the description. Maybe my mom might work on that.
So
I don't know.
Tonight at 9 o'clock.
I'm going to get to all that. It's not going to mean anything, but I do want you guys to be...
There's a show on TBN tonight. I want you guys to watch it.
You're going to have to go this way. Somehow
it's our buddy.
Nope.
We're friends with Leo Martin.
Leo and Nancy.
And they're going to do a special Thanksgiving show. Tonight
on TBN at 9 o'clock, and I want you guys to watch that. We are going to be watching it. I couldn't be more excited about this. But why the Pilgrims? Why is it important? And what I'm so excited about is Glenn Beck did a show the other day.
Glenn Beck did a show the other day.
And he has caught the Pilgrim bug.
He caught the Pilgrim wind.
Just like Leah and I.
Just like everybody around here.
Yes. And so Glenn Beck, and I'm going to give the punchline. Glenn Beck is going to be there
June
28th through the 30th, which is when we are going to be there because our friends at Plymouth 400, the Leiden Preservation, I'm going to show you all this stuff on their website. I don't want to get it wrong, but
just started out.
I want you to catch the fire right away of why this is so important. This is the monument.
I'm bringing the Native American to this festivities, and Michelle
You're the Native American.
The Pilgrim.
Okay. All right. So I hope that the
Native American with a little Nordic.
But you're really not Native American. Elizabeth Warren.
I'm pretty close.
Here she is. She's beautiful. I don't know what this cording is. Like she's got like some sort of hat on. Looks like a Jewish yarmulke. I think she might be lit up. They might be like, because she was supposed to get, she and the whole monument was supposed to get like a whole renovation redo in time for 400 because there were things like fingers that were falling off and things like that, and I'm hoping that they got the funding to do that. The town of Plymouth should have just paid for that, so that might be part of that. But anyway, this drone footage is absolutely amazing. That's Plymouth. That's Plymouth Rock. Squanto. Okay, so that is, let me exit out of here. I get goosebumps. I've seen that like 4 times already, and I get goosebumps every time. So the next thing that I want to go to, I'm trying to think, is, all right, let's go to Plymouth 400 since we just saw that. This is their website. It's 400th.org.
400th.org.
Yeah. So when you go here, you can listen to, this is just a 6-minute part of this Glenn Beck broadcast that he did. And they've put this up on their homepage. You can read more. I encourage you to read more. Since it's already Thanksgiving, I had wanted to do this episode a few days ago, but you can still get this. It's digital. You donate $10. They'll send you this booklet. And Glenn actually got me excited about this. And I went ahead and sent, my $10. They've put together this booklet. So that, you know how at Passover, if you know any Jewish people, if you have any Jewish friends, they actually have books that they follow at Passover dinner. What is Passover meant for? Remembrance. So they have put together this booklet for you to have to celebrate with your kids every Thanksgiving at the Thanksgiving table with your family. They've got hymns that the Pilgrims would have sung. There are special excerpts. The Thanksgiving Day Proclamation by President George Washington, the original Thanksgiving account of the Pilgrim Forefathers, scripture verses, importance of gratitude, things like that. So you can order this, donate, and then even today you can get your digital PDF copy of it instantly. So they're calling it the Quadricentennial. And that's because it's the 400th year. To me, it's easier to say 400th than quadricentennial. But you can say quadricentennial if you want to. Try saying it 5 times fast. But I want to read something from Daniel Webster, and this is what they have put next to this, at the Pilgrim Bicentennial, which was 1820. He says, "We have come to this rock to record here our homage for our Pilgrim Fathers, our sympathy in their sufferings, our gratitude for their labors, our admiration of their virtues, our veneration for their piety, and our attachment to those principles of civil and religious liberty, which they encountered the dangers of the ocean, the storms of heaven, the violence of savages, disease, exile, and famine, to enjoy and establish, and we would leave here also, for the generations which are rising up rapidly to fill our places, some proof that we have endeavored to transmit the great inheritance unimpaired, that in our estimate of public principles and private virtue, in our veneration of religion and piety, in our devotion to civil and religious liberty, in our regard for whatever advances human knowledge or improves human happiness, we are not altogether unworthy of our origin." And Leah said that Leah's going to go get the stuffing out. That she was watching, I guess I should make myself big here real quick. Steven Crowder's Change My Mind. Thanksgiving is not a racist holiday. Change my mind. And Leah said, if you ever want to have one argument for somebody that tries to say that Thanksgiving is racist or whatever, he points out that the Pilgrims came here and they signed the longest lasting peace treaty in our nation. It was 50 years, and it was between the Native Americans and the Pilgrims. When the Pilgrims landed here, they had peace with the Native Americans. That's what the original Thanksgiving is to celebrate. Okay. And whatever happened after that, between that and the Civil War and so on and so forth, or the Trail of Tears, that isn't the Pilgrims. Do you understand how important that is to recognize the difference? That the Pilgrims came here and they formed a peace treaty and an alliance with the Wampanoag Indians. And it was beautiful, and they spread the gospel, and you can learn all about this by watching Kirk Cameron's Monumental, by going to Plymouth. If you can't make it there for the Plymouth 400th celebration that Leo and Nancy and Paul J. Lee and Kirk Cameron and Glenn Beck and all of them are involved in, and we're going to be there as well. If you can't do that, at least at some point in the 400th year, January 2020 to December 2020, I encourage you to make a trip to go to the John Jenney Museum, to get a tour with Leo and Nancy, and really catch the fire. Because what Glenn Beck says in his radio program, and I think I have this clip tuned up, is about the covenant that the Pilgrims made, that, between God and themselves. They came here for the advancement of Christianity. That's why they were here. So let me go to, so you can get a little bit excited about this, besides Michelle talking about it, to Glenn Beck explaining kind of the origins of Thanksgiving. Not Glenn Beck, David Barton. Explaining the origins of Thanksgiving. And he goes way back, like farther than the Pilgrims.
Hello, America. Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. I'm David Barton, filling in for Glenn tonight. Well, tomorrow's Thanksgiving Day, and many families will be spending time together, eating meals and enjoying sporting events, and hopefully remembering to stop and thank God for his many blessings. I mean, after all, Thanksgiving, which is one of America's favorite holidays, is one of our many overtly religious holidays that we officially celebrate every year. But how did we get here? That is, how did Thanksgiving become one of our most beloved celebrations? Well, most Americans know that this tradition goes back to the Pilgrims. Times of Thanksgiving in America actually occurred long before the Pilgrims. For example, a Thanksgiving commemoration occurred 79 years before the Pilgrims in 1541 at Palo Duro Canyon, Texas, with Coronado and 1,500 of his men. Then in 1565, there was one at St. Augustine, Florida, with French Huguenots, that is, French Protestant colonists. And there was one in 1598 at El Paso, Texas, with Juan de Oñate and his expedition. And in 1607, there was a Thanksgiving celebration after settlers landed at Cape Henry, Virginia. And there was another one in 1619 at Berkeley Plantation, Virginia. And all of these Thanksgivings happened long before the Pilgrims ever arrived. But it's still from their Thanksgiving celebration of 1621 that we observe and derive the current tradition of Thanksgiving Day. Now, the Pilgrims, if you remember, had set sail for America back in September of 1620, and for 2 months they braved crossing a storm-tossed sea. After disembarking at Plymouth Rock, they had a prayer service and began hastily building shelters, but unprepared for harsh New England winter, half of them died. Now, emerging from that grueling winter, the Pilgrims were surprised when an Indian named Samoset approached them and greeted them in their own language. Explaining to them that he had learned English from fishermen and traders, a week later Samoset returned with a friend named Squanto, who lived with the Pilgrims and accepted their Christian faith. Squanto taught the Pilgrims much about how to live in the New World, and he and Samoset helped forge a lasting peace treaty between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag Indians. Now, Pilgrim Governor William Bradford described Squanto as, quote, a special instrument sent of God for our good, and he never left us till he died. The Pilgrims, persevering in prayer and assisted by helpful Indians, reaped a bountiful harvest that summer. So in December of 1621, they declared a 3-day feast to thank God and celebrate with their Indian friends. And this is America's first Thanksgiving celebration, not just a Thanksgiving service as the earlier ones had been. No, this was a genuine Thanksgiving festival, and it involved friends and family, athletic events, it involved meals and feasting, and it involved times of prayer and religious worship. This led to an annual Thanksgiving tradition in the New England colonies, but days of Thanksgiving really didn't start spreading southward into the other colonies until the American Revolution, and at that time Congress issued 8 separate national Thanksgiving proclamations. Now, America's first federal Thanksgiving occurred in 1789 after the end of the Revolution and the adoption of the Constitution. The discussion of notable founding fathers about why they did this first federal Thanksgiving is actually found in this book. This is the Records of Congress covering 1789, and it tells us here in this book, it says, quote, Elias Boudinot said he could not think of letting the season pass without offering an opportunity to all citizens of the United States of joining with one voice and returning to Almighty God their sincere thanks for the many blessings he had poured down upon them. Also, we're told that Roger Sherman, it says Roger Sherman justified the practice of Thanksgiving as warranted by a number of precedents in the Holy Writ, that is the Scriptures. This example he thought worthy of Christian imitation on the present occasion. So Congress, therefore, requested President Washington to call for a day of national Thanksgiving, which he gladly did. He issued this original Thanksgiving proclamation, 1789. This is America's very first federal Thanksgiving. Now, why did President Washington do this? Why did he call for a federal Thanksgiving? Well, he explained right here in this proclamation. He said, it is the duty of all nations to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God, to obey His will, to be grateful for His benefits, and humbly to implore His protection and favor. Federal Thanksgiving proclamations occurred sporadically after this one, with most official Thanksgiving observances occurring at the state level rather than the federal level. Much of the credit for the adoption of our annual federal Thanksgiving holiday may be attributed to Sarah Hale, a mother of 5 and the editor of Godey's Ladies Magazine. It was a popular ladies magazine that contained poetry and artwork and articles by America's leading authors. She actively promoted the idea of a national Thanksgiving Day, and she explained in an editorial, she said, "Thanksgiving Day is the national pledge of Christian faith in God, acknowledging Him as the dispenser of blessings. This festival should be joyfully and universally observed throughout our whole country as inseparable from American life." For nearly 3 decades, she lobbied and wrote president after president, including President Abraham Lincoln, asking him to proclaim a federal Thanksgiving. Now, Lincoln set that precedent. He responded in 1863 with a proclamation. Here is his proclamation printed in the New York Times. He set it up for the last Thursday of November. Sound kind of familiar? He reminded Americans in this proclamation, he said, "The year that is drawing toward its close has been filled with the blessings of fruitful fields and healthful skies. And to these bounties, which are so constantly enjoyed that we're prone to forget the source from which they come, others have been added. So no human counsel has devised any, nor hath any mortal hand worked out these great things. They are the gracious gifts of the Most High God." Over the next 75 years, subsequent presidents followed Lincoln's precedent, and over the course of time, annual Thanksgiving celebrations, they varied widely, and they even occurred in different months over those 75 years. But then in 1933, with this Thanksgiving proclamation by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, we began regularly celebrating Thanksgiving on the 4th Thursday of each November. And then in 1941, Congress permanently established that day as the National Thanksgiving Holiday. By the way, you can see all of these original historic Thanksgiving proclamations and lots of others at wallbuilders.com.
All right, so we're going to make this big really quick. So that kind of lays out the history of Thanksgiving, the holiday. Since today is Thanksgiving, that's why I wanted to play that, to really catch the fire. So he very briefly talked about half of them dying. Leah, expound on that, the Pilgrims.
Well, expound on the Pilgrims in 2 minutes.
Expound on half of them dying.
Well, they came over here, and it happened to be the dead of winter, and the men went on shore, and the captain was going to go home, but he realized he had a duty to play, so he stayed, and the women stayed on the ship. But the women, it was cold. It was very cold. There were no fires on the ship. It wasn't heated, and there was no food left. And the women laid over their children to keep them warm, and basically, they say half of them died.
It was mostly the women,
but the women
and some children.
I think there was 25 that came over, and 20 of them died. And they, in dying, they took care of each other. They loved each other. They literally had no food. They were taking 5 kernels of corn and dividing them as your, that was your allotment for the day. 5 kernels of corn.
Right.
They were starving. The first year was called the starving year. And so when you came to the next year, and Squanto had come and taught you to plant, and you had a harvest, and you had literally starved for an entire year, and half your people died, that's Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
They knew that God providentially brought Squanto.
And they had already seen so many miracles, like literal miracles that you and I don't see every day.
And they knew that God had called them to be there. And when the Native Americans came, or the Indians came, and they held these fun games where they're, axe tossing and things like that, wrestling, and they really became friends, and that is lost in today's narrative. They became friends. They became more than friends.
Neighbors. They were. So we've been there at the Jenny Grist Mill, which we're going to get into Leo and Nancy here in a little bit. But I remember the tour that we got to take with Paul J. Lee and Leo, and I definitely like the little teacher's pet. I was as close to Leo as I could get. So I could talk to him and ask him questions. And I remember when he pointed out just how close the Indians were living to them. Like, it was literally, they were neighbors. They were neighbors. Okay. This isn't like, hey, we traveled, a half-day walk. Mm-hmm. They were literally next door neighbors, and it still blows my mind today. And so why are we so excited about the Pilgrims and why is this monument so important to today. Because what I put in the title was Plymouth, the Pilgrims, and Thanksgiving, 1620 to 2020, 400 years, because I want to take it to from where it was then and why getting back to that is so important and why we are so fired up about it. This isn't just, hey, let's talk about Thanksgiving and a holiday and some of our history. I mean, this is a spiritual movement.
Because they came, Dustin, they like, the historians there are very secular, and they like to say that the Pilgrims came for economic reasons. Well, you leave everything you have, get on one rickety old boat, and you go to start a new life, and there's nobody there.
Where the conditions are harsh and the rumors of savages and them killing you is like terrifying.
Nobody does that for money or economic reasons. They did it
They
because
do it. Only somebody would do that for a conviction of a religion.
they believed that God had called them to spread the gospel.
Yeah.
And that's why and so you'll do anything. And they believed that they were there for a 500-year plan. And the women said, we're laying down our lives.
Literally
so
our backs.
So can walk on our backs, and the next generations can walk on our backs, because they saw it. They had these prayer times. They had these services. 3 hours in church and then 3 hours in prayer, talking about what God was telling them.
8 hours total or something.
And in doing this, they were talking about what is God telling us to do. They really believe God's telling us to go to the Americas. God, we just have to go. We have to go. We have to go. And when you have that fervor inside of you, I just have to do it because God's telling me to do it.
These people had, like, you lightly touched on it, but let me expound on that a little bit. When they were in, they were in Holland, but before that they were in England. But in that course, when they would have these 8-hour days, they would literally have 3 hours of sermons and preaching and stuff like that. And then they would spend so many hours talking about it. Now, when they're talking about it, what are we going to do about what we just learned? What the Holy Spirit is speaking to us and revealing to us. And that's when in this intimate family type atmosphere, the body of Christ was birthed America. They didn't know that at the time, but that's what it was. Prophetically, that's absolutely what it was. And so they came and they had a 500-year plan. Why is the 400th year so important? I believe that God divined it from 1620 to 2020. 2020 is a clarity of vision. How do we get to what they made this covenant between themselves and God and future generations? What do we know about God? He always honors covenants between his people and himself. And so I believe that the next 100 years,
so what this is called,
are going to realize that.
We call this the
see that realized.
That's why I want you to go see this, because this is what's called the roadmap. We have faith. We have law.
Faith.
We have evangelists. We have youth. We have education. We have...
and all of this can be explained. You can get posters. I'm going to have links to that, all of that. Leo and Nancy have every possible resource.
She's holding the book of Revelations here. It's open. She's got the 10 Commandments, law with justice and mercy, education with youth, and then you've got your grandparents on the other side. You've got morality with an evangelist on one side, and I always forget the other one, the prophet on the other side. Then you have law with peace and justice, I believe, or law with peace and mercy, liberty. With tyranny overthrown, and then peace.
And Leo does such a great job and Monumental does, the movie, of explaining the roadmap that this is. Mm-hmm. And so we could go into all of that, but we've done it. You can go to our Mass Faith 3 channel and go to where the playlist says Monumental and watch everything you want on that. And I highly recommend that, even though the sound and the audio is a little bit garbled.
Windy.
Because it was windy. I think we're going to have answers to that this coming year when we go. We'll have better audio. But all right, let's go straight to, I keep talking to, who is this infamous Leo who we praise to no end? Let me take you to the preview of tonight's show, which is going to be on TBN.
At 9 o'clock.
At 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. All right, so this is the preview for that. Let's see. Nope. Maybe it might be here. No. Oh, here's the parade that they did on Saturday. Now, what's so cool about that parade is they put it together. Mm-hmm. The Plymouth Rock Foundation, and I'm gonna get all the names wrong. And the town got behind it, which is so cool. Let's see if this might be it. Nope. I'm looking for, this might be from okay, here we go.
I needed to bring you here so you could meet a real game changer. He could be one of the last remaining tour guides who's telling the truth about what really happened here 400 years ago.
It's important they understand this information so that they know the building blocks of our country are Christian principles. Folks, it's a Forefather's monument. Look at Faith. Beautiful young lady's facing the ocean. She's actually facing the exact route the Pilgrims took when they left England to come here to start a new life based on biblical law. Morality has the Ten Commandments in one hand. On the other side, the scroll of Revelation. Law, but he's also got his hand held up in mercy. In Plymouth, we have law with justice and mercy. I cannot emphasize enough the importance of education. The source of the Pilgrim education was the Bible. And what really happened here in Plymouth has nothing to do with buckles or turkey. It has everything to do with the founding of our country.
So that's going to be tonight. We will be watching it live. You guys will be watching it live because I'm telling you to watch it live. I'm asking you to watch it live with us. Let me go to this article that I hope they'll let me read it. Well, hang on. I think it's
close. It says close up to the left.
Oh. Okay, so the Boston Globe wrote this. Here's my dude, Leo, and here's one of his tours. I'm hoping they'll let me read the full article. Leah, you want to read it since you haven't been doing a lot of talking?
No, go ahead. I do all the shows. Read the title.
How does an 81-foot tall monument to the Pilgrims become invisible? Plymouth, here in the hometown of Thanksgiving, where tourists are so eager to gobble up anything Mayflower that they jostle for views of a boulder and leave souvenir shops wearing giant hats adorned with buckles, the Jenny Museum offers 2 Pilgrim-themed walking tours. The more popular of them is fairly standard. It leaves the Summer Street Museum and makes the short walk to the touristy waterfront, hitting all the historic stops and the famous rock. The other tour, however, requires ticket holders to drive away from the crowds, up through a neighborhood of good-sized homes with good-sized trees to a quiet hilltop spot about a mile away. It is here that Leo Martin, the museum's outspoken, I love that they put that, tour guide, has been on a 2-decade quest to call attention to a monument to the Pilgrims that has been strangely ignored, considering that it is 81 feet tall and is believed to be the largest solid granite monument in the United States and possibly the world. There are people who live in Plymouth who don't even know it's here, Martin declared, which is his standard manner of communication. Declaration. It's called the National Monument to the Forefathers, and it is so massive in size and ambitious in scope that it took the Pilgrim Society nearly 30 years to build, finally completing the project in 1889, almost 7 decades after it had been conceived. Now, as Leo Martin will tell you, there was a little bit of a gap in between there. What was the gap, Leah?
A Civil War.
The Civil War. The story of how it became virtually invisible is equally as long, for it involves the neighborhood and trees that slowly grew up around it, eventually blocking the monument from view down on the waterfront. Now the only way to see it is if you're on a boat or you're standing right next to it, Martin said. But he and his wife, Nancy, who we love, who co-founded the Jenny Museum, believe there is another reason the monument has been ignored, one that goes beyond simple geography. They believe the monument contains a recipe left behind by the Pilgrims for a Christian nation. The name of the statue on top is Faith, and it tells the faith story of the Pilgrims, Nancy said. And in this atmosphere, a lot of people don't want to hear that story. Thanksgiving is not about turkeys and buckles, Leo declared. And so the Martins have made the giant monument and their tiny museum. It's not that tiny, but it is kind of. They've expanded it. The centerpieces of a mission to put Christ back in Thanksgiving. On a recent day, Leo, dressed up as usual in period garb, sans giant belt buckle, led a small tour group around the Forefathers monument, which sits on a 10-acre hillside plot, much of it now wooded and encircled by a 30-foot wide drive. Martin walked slowly and silently from the drive to the base of the monument, allowing the 24 people following him the opportunity to crane their necks, and you really do have to crane your neck, and begin processing just how big an 81-foot statue is. By comparison, the heads of Mount Rushmore are 60 feet tall. The hulking statue of a seated Abraham Lincoln inside the Lincoln Memorial is just under 30 feet high. Even if he stood up on his pedestal, his head would not reach 40. Up close, it's like, how can someone miss this? It's huge, said Angel Gulton, who lives in the neighboring Kingston, and confessed she had no idea the 180-ton monument was just up the road until recently. It's so set back and out of the way and unadvertised. Gutlin like many people who have sought out Leo Martin's tour in recent years, became aware of the Forefathers Monument after watching the documentary film Monumental, which stars Kirk Cameron. We all know about him. In 2012, and in that movie, Cameron, who is a prominent evangelical, goes in search of some kind of a map that will guide us back to the foundation of America's success. Like the Martins, he believes he finds that recipe contained in the National Monument to the Forefathers. The Jenny Museum now features, we're going to lift this up, a poster monumental and glowing quotes from Cameron on the wall praising the museum and Martin's tour. You can also buy for $149.99 a 14-inch tall replica of the monument that was commissioned by Cameron. Now,
we don't get a kickback, so please go buy one.
Yes, we don't get a kickback. Please go buy one. Before I go on, though, Leah, tell them why I was so obsessed with this and why you bought it for me for my birthday, because the donators of the original one were supposed to get what?
We're supposed to get one.
A bronze. A bronze one. And I looked everywhere online. They never made them.
They never made them. That monument literally got cut in half. It was supposed to be even bigger. It was
like Eiffel Tower bigger or something.
Rivaled the Statue of Liberty.
The Statue of Liberty, thank you. Martin said that although the monument may remain largely anonymous in Massachusetts, Monumental has made it a destination for evangelicals who come from far and wide to hear his interpretation, including us. We've been there twice. And it still feels like a home away from home for us. The monument was originally conceived in 1820 by the Pilgrims Society, which was founded that year to preserve Plymouth's unique history. It would be years before the massive project really got going, as the society built the Pilgrim Hall Museum, which it continues to run. The monument was passed to the state in 2001. The Forefathers Monument was originally conceived to be twice its current size and situated next to Plymouth Rock, but it was scaled down due to a number of factors, including funding problems because of the Civil War, and moved to Allerton Street to accommodate its epic size. Now, they did put it up on a hill, which is better, but because of all the trees that they've allowed to grow up on that 10-acre plot, it's not 10 acres when you drive there. They could tear down those trees, okay? And I'm not about tearing down trees, but I am about people being able to see this. The monument was designed by Boston architect Hammett Billings, who also did the granite canopy over Plymouth Rock, since replaced, and the original illustrations for the groundbreaking anti-slavery novel Uncle Tom's Cabin. Billings died before the monument was completed. Martin's tour covers much of these nuts and bolts, but his focus is on decoding the images of Christian allegories, and there is much to unpack in this colossus. And then I'm not going to read all of this because I want you guys to go in and really dig deep. You can read this article yourself. But let me continue. After 45 minutes, the tour dispersed. A short time later, everything was back to normal at the National Monument to the Forefathers, which is to say there was not a single person around. And this is one of the reliefs of the signing of that compact.
50-year peace
the 50-year peace treaty between the Native Americans and the Pilgrims themselves. So let me give you just a little clip of this Glenn Beck program. Here, Leah, these are yours. That got me so excited because the fact that Glenn Beck has caught the bug, I believe, just goes to show how powerful this movement is, how much God is on it.
Well, when we were there 7 years ago,
we
months,
made plans to come in 2020, 7 years ago.
It's going to be big. And we've talked to Glenn Beck, and he's probably going to bring
It wasn't Glenn Beck. He was...
No, it was Glenn Beck, and he's probably going to bring a cruise ship. But
I thought it was going to be Franklin Graham.
Well, they were going to try to get Franklin Graham to come speak, but they were talking to Glenn Beck. He was going to have a cruise ship. But then everything kind of fell to the wayside. The fervor about the Pilgrims kind of fell away for a while. So we heard this Glenn Beck thing, and he is going to do something. It's so exciting because Glenn Beck has millions of viewers and millions of listeners every day, which gets the word out even more and gets people excited. Patriot Alley gets so frustrated trying to watch people on YouTube who are so down and depressed, when that's not at all. Why be down and depressed, especially when there's so much good news? And this is good news, but you don't hear about it because the devil doesn't want you to hear about it.
Now, Glenn said that he hasn't revealed his big plan. Now, it could be the cruise ship. I don't know what it is. I keep listening to his show, even though I don't normally listen to it, to try and find out if he's revealed it. If you guys have heard what he's talking about, it probably is the cruise ship, which we will not be on. But I'm sure many other Glenn Beck people will be. But
it's going to be easier to do the cruise ship.
It's so important for you guys, if you do want to try to be there, to book wherever you're going to stay now. It's not a big town. And even the surrounding areas, we were having trouble finding a place. When did we book? 3 months ago? 3 or 4 months ago?
No, it was summer.
And one of the regular place that we go to had booked 5 hours before Leah asked her if we could book. Literally 5 hours.
And that was in May.
Was in May. So you guys, if you really do want to get on it, pray about it. But I'm really excited about Glenn Beck grabbing a hold of this. He had never been to Plymouth before, and he did his show, broadcast it from Plymouth, plot number 1, which I need to go back and show you guys that from the Plymouth.org website, and I will, but I want to listen to Glenn first here. But he was so taken by Plymouth. He's like, these people are amazing. The power of God is here.
Well,
I mean,
you can play Glenn and bring up plot number 1.
I can do that, actually.
Have to decide, are we Christopher Columbus before he arrives here? Because before he arrives here, he is on truly a mission from God. He is everything in his diary that he wrote at the time, not after, not revisionist, but in his diary at the time. He is a humble, humble man who is being led by God, and he knows what his mission is. Then he arrives, and the minute he arrives, he's bitten by the gold bug.
Oh, this is
by the
Christopher
time
Columbus.
he
Let me
finally
fast forward.
walks on.
Hang on. It's hard to fast forward on this, which is why I was trying to get it queued up, but I couldn't.
To be living.
No,
here
you can't see him.
And look at the things that we can create. I'm gonna give you a line from William Bradford. Now, William Bradford was the head of the Plymouth plantation, and here's what he said: "Thus, out of the small beginnings, greater things have been produced by his hand, that made all things of nothing, and gives being to all things that are. And as one small candle may light 1,000, so the light here kindled hath shone unto many in some sort, or our whole nation. Let the glorious name of Jehovah have all the praise." So what he's saying here is, what happened, we didn't do. We were just living certain principles that made all of these things work, and we remembered that we shouldn't get the glory for it. That we're just the ones who just happen to be lucky enough and loyal enough to those principles and he who gave those principles to us, to be able to use those principles and make something out of nothing.
Something out of nothing.
As he does.
Yeah.
And that little candle will light up. You'll become a bright, shining city on the hill. And if you forget, you become a byword. If we forget, and we have forgotten. I've talked about this for years, but I don't think it could be any more important than this year. I'm here in Plymouth, Massachusetts, not only because it's the 400th anniversary of the landing on Plymouth Rock, but next year next year is the 400th anniversary. In 2021 will be the first 400th anniversary of the first Thanksgiving. So they landed next year, 400 years ago, and they struggled, and they died, and the Native Americans helped them, and they became friends, and they worked together, and they had great crops, and they weren't going to have another winter of death. And so they gave thanks. This year, it's important for us to remember who we are. So in 2021, we can also celebrate the 400th anniversary of the first Thanksgiving by giving him thanks for the miracles that we will see in 2020.
Yes! You mark
I don't know
that
what
down.
those miracles are. But if you are a thinking person and you're an honest person, you know that it's going to take miracles for us to turn things around.
Yes.
For us to just survive as a nation. Our history has all but been stolen from us.
You can
Our
walk that
kids
pier.
don't
We
have
walked
any
it all the way
idea
down.
what real history is. They don't know who people are. They don't know who the Pilgrims were. I want you to go to a website, 400.
All right, so I'm going to stop this there because I want you guys to go. Now, this was a regular show that Glenn did. Let me click on this, and okay, you're already seeing it. I want you to go and watch it. And again, I maybe tomorrow I'll have all the links put in there because we're going to eat our Thanksgiving dinner, and I won't have time to do it tonight. But I want you to listen to the rest of this program because there are gems in it about Plymouth. Now, one last thing I want to go to is this is Plymouth 400th's Instagram page. And you can actually see this on their website, but they weren't coming up properly for me to be able to show you guys at the bottom here. It was very strange the way that they were popping up. So I'm going to play. What's weird is I tried to play these ahead of time, and I don't know how long they are because Instagram doesn't give you a chance. Now, you're going to meet Wrestling Brewster. Now, one of the cool things, I don't know if it's on this one, but there were children that were born like on the website, and I think it was like Oceanus and do you remember the name of the kids? But one of them was Love and Wrestling. There were twins that were born. And so the fact that this guy, as a descendant of the Brewsters that came over on the Mayflower, his parents named him Wrestling.
William Brewster, wife and sons, Love and Wrestling. Miles Standish and wife. John Allen, Samuel Fuller, Christopher Martin and wife. Richard Warren, and it goes on to say Stephen Hopkins and wife and children. Constantina.
They weren't able to put everything on that.
Oceanus, Humility, Cooper.
So, there we go. I'm going to pull this up, and I want you guys to watch this.
My name is Wrestling Brewster, and I'm a 10th generation descendant, William Brewster. Wrestling is wrestling with God. In the town of Plymouth, I grew up here, so it's commonplace. You know, there's Brewster Gardens, there's Brewster Street. Brewster and Robinson had penned the Mayflower Compact. They created this document, which really is a precursor to the Declaration of Independence, which is the precursor to the Constitution. The fact that he went to Leiden, was teaching at the University in Leiden with some of the greatest minds of the time. And, you know, he brought all that knowledge and brought all of that faith to America. It really, you know, showed that, wow, Brewster was a pretty big deal.
So there's that one. Now, okay, so they're not very long, so I'm going to play this one, The Pilgrim Women of the Mayflower.
There's monuments to the mothers of the Mayflower.
These are my people. Okay, now I want to show you who Paul Jaley is because we have listened to his sermons. He is on fire, and I don't really have anything here today that I'm going to play of him, but you can listen. He is on that the Glenn Beck interview, and you can watch him there.
It's also in the movie Monumental.
And he's in the movie Monumental.
Because the Pilgrims are the spiritual ancestors of all Americans. We are Pilgrims all.
That's it. That's all he says. Now, I'm hoping, where's the rest of that interview, Paul? This is the one that I started out with, that kind of overview there. I think that covers everything. You can go to this website and just totally explore the heck out of it and just get so excited. Now, they had everything on this event page that they're going to be doing. I have a printout of it because Leah gave it to me for my birthday last year with this.
Last year.
And they haven't updated it yet. So I think that they may be tweaking the events now that maybe Glenn's on board and stuff, which is why it's not there. So here's what I would do if I were you and you want to come. Make your plans, because we do know that it's going to be June 28th, 29th, and 30th. Make your plans accordingly to that. We're actually staying through the 4th of July because we want to celebrate the 4th of July in Plymouth. So I think that rounds it off. It's 8:02 here Eastern Standard Time. So in 1 hour on TBN, you can go to tbn.org, I think, and watch Leo, if you're not here in the United States and you don't have TBN, go to tbn.org and Kirk Cameron's show.
That's
I think
the beauty, I believe, of TBN is that they are on cable, but they want you to watch their show.
Yeah, it's like, because they're trying to spread the gospel.
Right.
And regardless of what you think about TBN, what they're doing here is amazing. One-on-one with Kirk Cameron is what it's called. So, I love everybody that's doing this. There were, and shoot, I know it's on here somewhere, all the different, there's the Jenny Museum, the Leiden Foundation. Do you remember what you had all of them together that are, anyway, the Leiden Preservation.
Comments for people.
We're going to not stop talking about this from now until we go to Plymouth. So you're going to keep hearing about this, and you're going to get excited about it with us, because you can't help but get as excited as we are, just because you can't help it. So this was longer than I intended, but I'm really glad that we did this show with you guys. Leo and Nancy are the dearest souls on the planet. I can't tell you, Leo and Nancy have an anointing from God to do this. No one else is doing it quite like they are. And he's also banded together with so many other people, like Paul J. Lee and the Leiden Foundation and all that.
Real quick, what is your weirdest Thanksgiving dish, and what's your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Like your weirdest...
The weirdest thing that people serve or you bring on Thanksgiving that other people wouldn't do.
Okay.
I might have been Dale Jones that does steaks or something. And
Steak?
I don't know. And I'm guessing in Louisiana, Maya does something different. So
if y'all even do jambalaya or something weird for Thanksgiving,
we
like,
have
that's
been
unacceptable.
Dinner time. We've been pretty traditional throughout our Thanksgivings. We don't have anything necessarily weird.
This year we're having a ham, a spiral ham from the Honey Baked Ham Company. Those things are money. Robert Bone sent that with a pecan pie, which I'm looking forward to immensely. But we don't have a turkey because our friend Catherine didn't raise turkey. But normally it's turkey and ham for Christmas. Mashed potatoes, gravy. Still haven't made the gravy. That'll take me 2 seconds. Green bean casserole. You literally cannot have Christmas or Thanksgiving without green bean casserole with the French's fried onions. You make the dinner rolls we showed. You will not have any holiday without a pumpkin pie. You made this giant deep dish pumpkin pie.
2 cans.
You made an apple pie.
Yeah.
From scratch.
Yeah.
With apples.
So what's the weirdest thing we do?
I don't know. I think that cranberries are weird, but they're not.
I have to go do those real quick.
You're not going to have time to do
gravy.
them. Okay. They're like real though.
Yep.
How do you make it all gelled like and stuff?
Burst.
What?
Put water and sugar and then they burst open.
You're kidding. I don't eat them. I don't eat
love
them.
Cranberries.
Now, speaking of cranberries though, do you know why cranberries are historically a Thanksgiving holiday thing? Because they grow well in Plymouth.
They're like,
it's a thing there. It's a New England thing. It's cranberries.
They got a cranberry museum there. It's pretty fun.
So I do like cranberries in the candy that they make. The
barbecue chicken this year, roasted potatoes, and a salad.
Okay, so a chicken.
I made a vegan pumpkin pie today. What's in your vegan pumpkin pie? No eggs.
Vegan pumpkin pie.
Swordfish steak, Mr. Mikey.
Holy smokes! I bet we haven't tasted the apple pie yet. Electric Eye. It is going to be good. Whipped cream with the spray can. Got to have that, and vanilla ice cream with the pies. Got to have that. We're going to break out the sparkling grape juice that you bought for my birthday that we did.
I knew redneck would be weird.
Oh, but
I already had green chili and chicken enchiladas.
Y'all
so I know some of you guys would do weird.
I'm going to give you a recipe for the best punch you've ever had in your life. A thing of pineapple juice, a thing of Hawaiian fruit punch, a 2 liter of 7-Up, and a container of rainbow sherbet. You're gonna put all that in the fridge. You're gonna get it nice and cold. You're gonna dump it all together. You're gonna dump the entire container of the sherbet in that, and you're gonna in that punch. And man,
scoop it out and make sure everybody gets a little bit.
Make sure everybody gets a little bit of that sherbet. We didn't do that this year. We haven't done that in years.
It's a bit much.
It's hard to store it. Really, I think that's why we don't do it, because the refrigerator space is already taken up.
I think it's a kid thing.
No, it is not a kid thing. One of my friends is vegan, so I'm testing it out on us so I can make it for Christmas present. All right, that's valid excuse. We've done such things. Let's see.
Oh, Evelyn said she had shark steak the other day. It was just so.
Oh. So
Lime
Maya's
sherbet
leaving because
or
they're
orange
having
sherbet?
dinner. Rainbow sherbet. Now,
Rainbow.
you can get away with, like, orange, I think, would be, you could do it. But I would do rainbow sherbet. So we're going to sign off.
Happy
9 o'clock
Thanksgiving.
Eastern Standard Time. 1 hour, less than an hour, 52 minutes from right now.
Peppermint schnapps and cream soda.
We're
was
probably
new to me
going
this
to see,
year.
we're going to eat, because we moved our kitchen table onto the deck this year, and we have an island in the kitchen now. So we're going to eat at the table that you guys have sometimes seen us film from. And we're going to probably put tbn.org up here and watch Leo and Nancy after we eat. But we always go around the table. We say what we're thankful for and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, do that. Be thankful.
all right, let's end with this real quick. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because He's given Jesus Christ His Son. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because He's given Jesus Christ His Son. And now let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich, because of what the Lord has done for us. Give thanks.
Amen.
I woke up with that in my head. So, all right, we love you guys. God loves you. God
We'll
bless.
see you tomorrow.
We will see you tomorrow night at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Eastern Standard Time for our European and UK news. Now, hang on, wait. I forgot to check the comments on Facebook. If anybody was
Happy
putting-
Thanksgiving from Ireland! Oh my gosh!
Hang on, Leo is here. The Matrix of Liberty was leaving comments. Hope you two had a blessed Thanksgiving. See you in June. I'm so excited. Leo was here. Gosh, I love them so much. I could just squeeze them.
Mark Michelson was here.
Happy Thanksgiving, my sister, says Deacon
Deacon-
Desmond Warren.
Vicky
Jean Wallace,
Patterson's-
happy Thanksgiving from Ireland. Vicky Patterson.
Yay, Ireland. Happy
Thanksgiving. Love you. Now
Thank
go
there.
to see if there's anybody on
Happy
Periscope.
Thanksgiving, Beck.
Which way to Carnegie Hall versus how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Nobody knows the answer to that question. We're in Plymouth here, my friend. Okay, so there we go. We went to Facebook. I'm so glad that Leo was there, or Nancy, one of them running the Matrix of Liberty Facebook page. Again, I'm gonna link the heck out of this whole description probably tomorrow, so you guys can get all things Pilgrim and be as excited as we are.
Go, the second piece of pie.
Go, and we're gonna have our first after we finish. So, all right, good night, and God bless.
It's cold.